of my crafty friends. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Welcome to all of you to my channel, Pretty Pink Craft Room, and thank you so much for joining me today and crafting with me today. So as promised, I am back to do a quick tutorial of how I made this particular mini album. I previously did a walkthrough of this album and shared it in a previous video on my channel and promised that I would come back and actually do the tutorial. Thank you all so much, all of you who watched that walkthrough video and took the time to comment on the video and provide feedback. I greatly appreciate so much all of the feedback and the positive encouragement that you guys give. Just inspires me to keep going and to keep creating these things that I love and sharing them with all of you as well. So thank you once again for taking the time to do that, and all of you, thank you for coming back. So again, we're making this album today. I won't do a full walkthrough, but just a reminder, it is a 4.5 by 8.5 mini album. It's made entirely with cardstock. No chipboard is required, and so if you are interested in making that with me, I hope you will stick around and craft with me today. So to make our base of our mini album, we're going to need 2 sheets of cardstock, and those sheets of cardstock need to measure 7 by 9.5. 7 by 9.5. I'm going to actually use some craft paper because I have a paper pack that I want to actually use that I think would go better with the craft stock paper as opposed to the black paper. So that's why I'm just using a different color. So again, this is a sheet of cardstock paper that measures 7 by 9.5. And all that you're going to do is you're going to get my scoring tool out. You're going to score on all 4 sides at 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch, rotate, 1/2 inch, rotate, 1/2 inch, rotate, and 1/2 inch. And then you want to come back to that 7-inch side, the side of your paper that's on a 7-inch, and score that at 5. So you scored a 1/2 inch all the way around, and then you did a second score at 5 inches. So now that you've done that, you're going to just miter your edges so that your paper can fold. And we kind of did this in a previous video too, where we made an album with the cardstock, and I previously explained that this was a technique that I saw Tiffany from Let's Get Scrappy do to protect the edges of the paper so that they wouldn't crease or fold or easily become damaged. So all you see me doing here is I'm now going to that spine and I'm just cutting out a triangle there to make the make it all lay and crease down properly. So I've already done 1 page, previously cut and scored it, so now you'll see I have 2 pages and they're exactly the same, and so this is how they would look after they are scored and mitered and cut down. So all I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go ahead and fold and crease all of these edges, secure them down with glue. I'll do one on camera with you. I'm trying to do some things off camera so that the video doesn't turn out to be too long. So you may see I've done pretty much all of my cutting I've done off camera, so to kind of speed up the process. Okay, so all I'm doing right now is just really creasing these edges so that they are sharp and crisp. Right, so all of the edges have been creased down, and so now I am just going to apply some glue to secure these edges down. So I'm just going to start with the spine flaps here. Then I'll go to the bigger flaps here. Now you can certainly use tape if you so choose. You can use tape. I have not tried it with tape. I find that with the glue, it gives me a little bit more time to adjust if I need to. Now when I do my chipboard mini albums, I do use the double-sided tape. I just think that works better with my chipboard albums, but this is just cardstock, so I find that I'm doing pretty good with just using the glue. So again, just applying some more glue to these edges to secure them down. And then just using my bone folder to try to get the glue to adhere and get everything lined up properly and in place and even. This, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but with the craft paper, it requires a little bit more effort to, at least the craft paper that I get from Michaels. I haven't tried getting the craft paper from other sources yet, but this is the craft paper I get from Michaels, and it seems a little thicker, even though the packaging says it's 65 pound, like the white and the black that I get. It seems weightier to me than normal 65 pound, and it requires more effort for me to crease it down, for me to score it. I have to go over it several times to get the scoring down, to get it to crease, all of that. So if you're just a brief note, if you're using the same thing, you might run into the same situation. So now that I've secured my edges, now you can see those edges are covered. Excuse me. They should stand up and be more durable since we've folded them and creased them down. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fold this other section here and just burnish that down too. Get that crisp edge there. And as you can see, you've done one side and this now becomes your spine. So I'm just going to do the other page, or the other half of this base that we previously scored and mitered and everything. I'll do that, and then I'll come back and show you how we can put it all together. So I have gone ahead and glued down both sides of these pieces of paper, and so now you can see how they will fit together and create your album like so. So all I'm going to do now is apply some glue and attach these together. And again, you can choose to use tape. However, I need that little extra time to line these up, and tape is just not as forgiving as this glue. Even though the glue is very strong and very powerful, it still gives me a couple of seconds to line it up properly and make sure everything fits together. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to line these up and move them into place. And I think that's pretty good. Just making sure everything is even before I press it down. And if you notice, when I applied the glue, I didn't go all the way to the edge. I just didn't want that glue to seep through the spines, and then I'd have to clean all of that up. So this looks pretty even, so I'm just going to go ahead and crease it all down. And now your base is complete. So now we can go ahead and start working on our inserts. And we will have 4 inserts in the album. And they're pretty much basically simple pages, all the same size, all the same scoring and cutting, so it'll be very simple. Just as a quick tip, I think once you make these, then you'll see how easy it is to change it up, make it into something that you want it to be, to change up the design or the measurements and the dimensions and all those things, you can change it up once you do the base and see how simple it is to design it as you see fit. So this is just, of course, one technique or one example of how you can do it, but there's a variety of ways, of course, that you can change it. So to make our inserts, again, as I mentioned, it's 4 inserts. So I'm going to put this over to the side now. So you're going to take 4 sheets of paper again, and these pages measure 7 1/4 by 8 1/2. So it's 7 1/4 by 8 1/2. And on the 7 1/4, you're only going to make 2 measurements, and those two scoring lines. You're only going to score at 3/8 of an inch and 4 3/8. So 3/8 and 4 3/8. And that's all the scoring you're going to do for those pages. And so then you want to go ahead and fold those lines in and secure them down. So, and then I'm just folding. There isn't a specific requirement on this flap of whether to fold it forward or back. You're just trying to fold it right now to get the crease. Once you assemble the album, you can decide whether you want your flap to go to the front or to the back. But for right now, we're just trying to crease these down to make sure those scoring lines are straight and crisp. And we can always move that as well. Okay, so I've already done the other 3, and they are exactly the same 3 pages, scored at 3/8 of an inch and then 4 3/8, and then folded them down and creased them. So I'm just going to add a little bit more creasing just to get them secure and crisp, and then we'll see about adding them actually to the album. I'm going to bring my base of my album back in now so that we can go ahead and add our inserts. Now this is where you can really make a decision as to how you want your album to look. What I personally like to do is I like to mat this spine before I add the inserts. And the reason I do that is because I want a little bit of it to show on the other side of my insert. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is, of course, the spine of my base. So what I did is I took some paper, some matted paper, cardstock paper, and I measured it and matted it, and I'm now going to apply it to my spine. And of course, as I apply it to my spine, I want to make sure that it doesn't hinder any folding or it doesn't get in the way. So you can then measure it down as to how narrow or how wide you want that to appear on your spine. So I'm just going to adhere this down, and again, this is just something that I do. It's completely optional, of course. Like most things that we do it based on preference and how we really want things to look, what is pleasing to the eye, and what you want it to look like in the finished product. So I've just applied glue here, and I'm just going to add this to the base. Like so. And just making sure it's even here. Okay. So let me crease that down. Okay. So that is just got added to the spine of my base album. So I'll show you what I mean when I say I like for a little bit of the coloring or the color paper, the scrapbook paper or the design paper to actually show through. So I'm going to take one of my inserts now, and we previously folded and scored, and we have a 3/8 inch flap here. This is what I'm going to use to hinge my inserts to the album. So I'm taking that 3/8 inch and I'm going to apply it down to the base or to the spine of my album. But I'm going to position it in a way so that now you can see some of the color of that paper that I previously glued down. Now you can see some of it showing through to the left here, and that's what I want it to look like. So that's why I don't leave my spines bare, is because I don't want it to just be the base color of the album showing here as well as here. I like for the color contrast to be there. So I'm just going to position this. I'm going to add some glue. A bit too much there. And then I'm just, again, that flap is folded down. I added the glue, and then I'm just eyeballing it here. It's about maybe I'd say less than 1/4 of an inch, but a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch away from the spine, from the score line of the spine, from that crease. And I'm just lining this all up to make sure it's even here. Okay, and then of course you can fold it to the other side, make sure no glue has seeped out, and if it has, kind of clean that up a little bit, and then just making sure that I'm even on both sides, and even with the top and the bottom as well. Okay, so that's my first page, and so now to add my second page, I am just going to butt that up against the previous edge here and add that in just like so. So you have this little part here that's glued down, this 3/8 of an inch hinge, and now you have another 3/8 of an inch, and you're just going to glue that down and move it right next to the edge of the previous paper that was glued down. So it should look like this once you're finished. So let me go ahead and add the glue. And now I'm just going to adhere this down, try to line it up so that it is even top to bottom, and that it is right next to the edge of the previous paper that I glued down. Okay, perfect. So then of course you can fold it over and just making sure everything is laying down and it is all there. Okay. So now we have both of these glued down. I'm just going to do the third one now. Same way. Same technique of adding it on. Pushing it right against the edge of that previous paper, using it as my guide, making sure it's even from top to bottom. Just trying to make sure everything is even. Okay. And hopefully that's all good. Yes. Okay. So you've done all three, and the reason why I wanted to go ahead and do these with you on screen too is because for the last page, I don't want my hinge going this way. I flip it around. And I glue these two hinges right on top of each other. So it goes actually just like this. I'm sorry. Just like so. They are exactly on top of each other so that when this flips over, you still are seeing a little bit of the coloring from that spine. So you see that contrast that you're able to see. So again, this flap, this 3/8 inch flap from the fourth page is going to be glued right on top of the previous spine or the previous hinge from the previous page. And I do this because I just like the way it looks this way. That may not be your preference. You may decide that I don't want that look, but I just wanted to show you an option of what you could do in case this is what you decide. And you guys can see how, because I'm using the glue, I can reposition things and just make sure that it's all being lined up the right way. And I fold mine back and forth, of course, just to get those papers used to how they're going to have to go back and forth in the book. And now you can see that all of the papers have been added and they are now securely in your photo album. And we have our 4 signatures there, all lined up even with each other. Okay, so that is the base of the album. I'm going to show you some of the things I did on the pages. I'm not going to glue down everything because I haven't decided the paper that I want to use for this album just yet. But I will go ahead and go through some of the things that I've did, some of the techniques or suggestions of what you can do for decoration. So let's start with the inside cover here. So for the inside cover on the previous book that I made, I did a double belly band. If that is something that you would like to do, what you can do is you can take one sheet of paper, and this paper measures 3 by 9 1/4, 3 by 9 1/4, and all you would do is score it at 1/2 inch on both ends. So here I scored at 1/2 and then 8 3/4, 1/2 and 8 3/4, and then I take and I angle cut these edges just so that it does not show when I glue it down. It just looks cleaner to me when I do that. And then I will fold these down. Okay, let me get some of this out of the way. And then I would add this to my book like so. But I'm not going to add it because, as you can see, it's not the full height of the book. And that's because I like to mat and layer. So I want to mat this page with the cardstock that I want to use prior to adding the belly band. But I wanted to show you how I would do it anyway. So this is the first layer of the belly band. And then for the second layer, I just took another piece of the cardstock, and this piece measures 1 3/4 by 8 inches. I did not score this particular piece because it just kind of lays on top of the original belly band. So it's kind of hard to see because, you know, the cardstock is here. But again, it's just layering both of the belly bands on top of each other. And then I would, on this top one, I would just add glue at the top and the bottom and then apply it directly on top of that first belly band. So that is what I would do for my inside cover. So I'm gonna just clip this down until it's time to actually add the paper here. So I have that here. Now for the first page on my original design, I had my flap going forward like so. And this is why I said in the beginning, it's not, you don't have to worry or stress about how you're going to fold it when you're first making the pages and folding them down, burnishing them down. You can decide after the book is created or as you're creating the book. So for me, on this front flap, I had decided that I wanted that to go forward. And so all I did was mat paper here, create photo mats for people to be able to add photos here, and the flap went forward. And then when I flipped, I also did the same thing here. I just matted paper here to create photo mats to add pictures. So now let's go to page number 2, and I can show you what I did with that page. For page 2, I did a large pocket and an accordion fold on top of the pocket. So to make that, To make your pocket, I took a sheet that measures 5 by 6.5. So this sheet again measures 5 by 6.5, and I'm just going to score it on 3 sides like we do for pockets. Okay, so we have a scored sheet here, and I'm just going to go ahead and miter my edges. And then it creates this pocket like so. So I'll fold down these sheets here. So now we have our pocket that can go on our page here. I'll bring the booklet back in. So what I did was I kind of centered it in the middle of the page like so, and that's where I added my pocket. So a quick tip too of what I did, if you don't want to make a huge tag going all the way down inside this pocket, what I did was I applied glue in the middle here, just a thin bead of glue here, as well as on the 3 flaps. And so what that does is it glues your pocket down, so now your tag doesn't have to be as big to go through the whole pocket. It can stop at that glued section, and you can make a tag that only goes from the top to the glued section as to wherever you decided to measure it at. So that's another tip of what you can do. Again, this is the pocket that's going to go on here. And on top of that pocket, I made an accordion fold. So to make the accordion fold, I took a sheet that measures 5 by 11, and all I'm going to do is score that in 3 places. I scored at 3, 6 3/4, and then 10.5. So once again, I scored on the 11-inch side, I scored at 3, 6 3/4, and then 10.5. So then what I did is I took that 1/2-inch flap, folded that down. Then the other pages, I just did an accordion fold. So now you have an accordion fold page. And you can glue that right on top of the pocket. And so you have a pocket underneath, and then you have an accordion fold insert here that can add for even more photos going in the front and in the back right on top of the pocket. So again, I'm not going to glue that down because I have to make the paper selection and choices. So I'll just clip that to the page number 2. So as you can see with page number 2, I put my flap going to the back. So all I did was matte paper here for photos, just added paper, added some sections for photos, and left that pretty flat. So that's what I did here. Now for page number 3, I did double pockets. So I had a pocket this way and another pocket on top. If you want to make those pockets, then you can take 2 sheets of paper. The first one, excuse me, measures 9.5 by 3 1/4. Again, 9.5 by 3 1/4, and I'm just going to score on 3 sides like we did with the previous pocket. Very simple, very easy. And then exactly the same thing, I'm going to miter those edges and cut those off. And then now I have my pocket, but it's a side loading pocket as opposed to a top loading pocket. So now it will lay on the page like so. But this is a double pocket. So then I took another sheet of paper and this piece of paper measures 2.5 by 9.5, but did the same exact thing, scoring on the 3 sides. And then mitering and angle cutting these edges here. Then once I fold this down, like so, I'll crease it. So now these pockets, these side-loading pockets, can lay on top of each other. So you have a pocket in here, on this way, and you have a pocket this way, and then it would just lay in your album just like this. So that would be your pocket, your double pocket side loading for your page number 3. Okay. So for page number 3 for the back, again my flap went to the back, and all I did was add another page here. Just trying to keep everything together. Added another page here so that it could have like double flaps. Kind of, I guess you could say it's a mini waterfall. Not sure if that's what you would call it, but we'll make one of those together as well. So to make that, I took a sheet of paper that measures 3 3/4 by 8.5. 3 3/4 by 8.5. And all I did was on that 3 3/4 side, I scored at 1/2 inch. And folded that down, angle cut it, so nothing is very difficult at all in this album. It's very beginner friendly in case you want to make something like this. It's very easy to create and create bases for it that you can use at another time too. So this is the flap I just created. I scored it at 1/2 inch, angle cut that 1/2 inch flap. This 1/2 inch flap I'm going to just glue down here like so. And so now I have double folds here. I have a page that folds out like this, and this will be the second page that folds out like so. So these two will go on top of each other, and they stagger because one page is slightly bigger than the other. So that's how that looks. For the last page, again, I'm going to fold my flap to the back, like so. And this is the page where we just created flaps up and down. So let's go ahead and get some paper so that we can create those flaps as well. So we are now on the front part of page 4, our signature number 4. And we're going to create flaps here that again stagger against each other so that you can see that design of having papers that are a little bit shorter, or stagger, I guess would be the right word, like I said before. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and create that for this page. And to do that, we're going to need 2 pieces that measure 5 by 3 3/4. So again, it was 5. Let me move this down. I don't know if you're seeing it. 5 by 3 3/4. So what we're going to do is on the 5 inch side, I'm just going to score at 1/2 inch. And I'm going to take the second sheet that I have that measures the exact same thing, and I'm going to do that again. So I just scored a 1/2 inch flap on the 5 inch side, and I'm just going to angle cut these edges here. And then fold and burnish it down. Okay, so this one I'm going to go ahead and glue in the book because I don't think it'll hinder it when I need to add the paper, the design paper to it. So I'm going to go ahead and add my glue. So again, I'm just taking my first flap and adding glue to that 1/2 inch section only, and attaching that to the very top of my page. And I'm going to go as close to the edge, the right edge here, as I can. You can, of course, choose to center it, but I just went as close to the edge as I could, so everything lines up this way. Then I'm going to take the second flap that I cut as well and already scored, add glue to that 1/2 inch flap, and this time I'm going to adhere it to the bottom. The 1/2 inch flap goes to the bottom, again towards that right edge, line it up on the right, and it goes all the way to the bottom. So now you have these flaps that open like so. So I also added 2 additional flaps that were a little bit smaller, slightly smaller. And the additional flaps, they measure 3 1/4 by 4 3/4, and I have 2 of them. And on the 4 3/4 side, that's where I want to score at my 1/2 inch. And I'm going to do that for both of them. And do the same thing again of angle cutting those edges. Okay, get some of this out of the way. Trash it. And then I'm going to fold and crease everything. And I'm going to add this on top of here. Now these I did center against the bottom flap, so I centered it on there, and then I'm just going to add my glue and add it right on top. Just want to make sure I am even here. Okay. And then do the same thing for the bottom flap. I'm going to center it. And I'm also going to endeavor to line it up with the top flap as well, so that they are pretty even with one another. And keep it centered as well. That doesn't look too even. Let's try this again. Okay, that looks better. And it's lined up with the bottom. Okay. So now you have double flaps for the bottom, double flaps for the top, and they open like this and like that, and then you still have the base page at the bottom to add photos to. Okay, so then moving on to the back of page 4, this is where I just added more photo mats. I left it pretty flat, just added paper for more photo mats. And then on the back cover is where I did a triple pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the measurements and score it for you, but I won't adhere it because, again, I want to do my papers first. So to create my pockets, I have 3 sheets here of paper, and they all measure 5 3/8 wide, but they are in various amounts as far as the height. So for the first one, it's 3 3/4, and I'm just going to score at a 1/2 inch on all 3 sides. It's very simple pocket making, just like what we've done previously. We're repeating that same process, but just making it look a little bit different. Okay, so that is my first pocket. That's my largest pocket, my deepest pocket. and it would go at the bottom here, like so. So I would add that at the bottom, and that would be my first pocket. Should bring it in frame so you can actually see what I'm talking about, right? So yes, so I would add that first pocket right at the bottom, like so. And so now we're gonna just add the other 2 pockets on top. So again, my pocket measures 5 3/8. But as far as the height of it, it's 2.5. So I'm just gonna again score on all 3 sides. Oh, I'm sorry, did I score on the 3rd side? I don't think I did. Let me think about that. I did not. So I only scored on the sides. I apologize. So I only scored on the 1/2 inch sides here. Because the pocket was so slender and narrow, I didn't feel like I needed to create the additional depth of doing the bottom. But you can certainly do that too. That is an option. So I only scored on the left and the right side 1/2 inch. Sorry if that confused you, but I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. So I only scored on the sides again, 1/2 inch on each of the sides. You can disregard that bottom score line. It won't show anyway because we'll cover that with paper and mat it. So then this one goes right underneath the previous one, just like so. So then we'll do a 3rd and last one. And again, we're just going to score. It's the same size, I should say, 2.5 by 5 3/8. And I'm only going to score it 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. I hope this made sense to you guys. I feel like I kind of went too rather fast, and hopefully not too fast. And I know it may look a little different because I'm not gluing things down, but hopefully when I post this video, I can maybe pause and decorate it, take a little time, decorate it, and then show you the final product before posting it. So I'm hoping I can do that, but at least you can see how it's all put together. So this is the third pocket, and you can decide on, you know, the depth of where you want it to be placed at, you know, how high up, how far down, and then those are your 3 pockets, like so. So I'll go ahead and leave these at the back so I'll know if they go here. So that is the base of the album, with all of the flaps and the pockets and everything. I hope this was a little bit helpful to you. Again, what I'm going to try to do is pause the video and do my decorating, my paper matting. It's going to take me some time, and then I'll be able to post the video and you can see the final product too. But at least I wanted to make sure I went through this part with you and showed you all the different things that you can do with it. And hopefully I did not confuse you, and that it was pretty straightforward on what to do for each page. But ultimately you could see that you could make those decisions on how you want each page to look. It's pretty much just a blank base, and then you as the creator can decide, okay, I want it to look like this, or I want it to look like that, or, you know, I don't want a flap here or a flap there. And so hopefully this information is a little bit helpful for you so that you can definitely make it your own and decide on how you wanted to design it as well. So once again, thank you all so much for joining me on my channel today, for sticking with me through this process of staying and crafting with me and creating this space. I hope again it is something helpful to you, and that you will join me for the next time when we have another crafting session and we create something beautiful again. Until then, have a good evening. Bye. Before I let you go and complete this video, I wanted to give you a quick look as to how the final project turned out. The paper I decided to use was a old paper pack that I had from Country Craft Creations. It is a By the Seaside paper pack that is available on their website if you are interested in purchasing it, but this is what I did for my final project. I made a frame on the front with some acetate. I tried to use some ribbon that kind of looked like netting, like could be by the sea. Use some of the ephemera and the die cut pieces on the front there, and then when you open it, this is what it looks like on the front cover. Did the same thing that I did with the previous album. I did the double belly bands that we went through and I showed you. On the front, I took a journal card, just added it on the front for an area for journaling. I made some pull tabs for some mats, and I used some ribbons to pull it, or to make it easier to pull. And they are just photo mats here that you can add for photos behind there. And I didn't add anything to the second belly band. I must have forgotten to do that. But again, these are double belly bands on top of each other, which is what we went through the tutorial. This is our page 1. I just added a tag here on the front. It's a fold over tag that you can add photos or add journaling here too. You can add that on the front. Again, I made these page tabs to make it easier to flip the pages, and then when you open it, then it's just areas for photos and tuck spots and things like that. The next page looks like this, more area for photos. These are tuck spots here. This was that accordion page that we made together. That's how it looks one way, and this is how it looks the other way. My glue just gets everywhere. So that's the accordion page, and then behind it was the pocket that we made there for the tag, and that's the tag inside there. The next page again was another photo mat page. Just added space for photo matting, fold over there, and then this is a double pocket that we made, and I just made this little file folder shape photo mat there, and then made 2 tags that are like so, that went into the larger pocket. On the next page is again another photo matting section with tuck spots, areas for adding photos, and then this was that double page that we did on top of each other. I did one page and the second page, and then you flip it, and then there's even more space for photos. And over on this side was the flaps that we did, and all I did was add a tag as a closure that you could keep those flaps down with, and then when you open it, then you have these flaps that fold like so, and then the ones at the bottom that fold down like that. And of course there's areas here for photo matting, and so all of that folds on top of each other, and then it secures down with the tag. The tag is magnetized, so that's why it's able to keep those flaps down. And then on the last page is another page with a tabbed edge that you can use to open the pages up, and this is how it looks when you open it. Again, more areas for photos to be added there. And then on the back here is the 3 pockets that we created, and I just added some little journaling cards here for each of the pockets with that ribbon up top there. That makes it easier to pull. So and then this is how the back looks, and then the spine is like that. So this is the final product, and again, this was the first one that I did, and then this is the second one. I think I added a lot more into this one because it seems a lot more chunkier than this first one, so I added a lot more. But you can, of course, again, like I've said previously, you can go ahead and design it and make it your own, and I'm sure you would enjoy the creative process of doing that as well. So thank you again, once again, for sticking with me. Thank you for joining me on my channel. I appreciate all of the comments and the positive reinforcement, the encouragement. Everything is just absolutely great, and it helps me to continue to create and bring things to my YouTube channel as well. So thank you all once again for your kindness and support, and I look forward to crafting with you very soon. Bye.